Welcome again. Welcome to MTD Virtual Summit by Zoho. Thank you so much for joining us and staying with us throughout the day. This is our last and final session, and we've kept the best for the last. So the topic for today's session is scaling MTD income tax with automation and offshore team. We have Arun Mehra here, who's going to be talking and sharing his insights with us about the topic. But before that, all right, everyone. So now MTD for income tax is coming. And for many practices, the real concern isn't just about compliance, it's capacity. Now, how do you deliver at scale without burning your team or eroding your margins? Now, this session, the last and the final session, is exclusively for accounting firms and bookkeeping firms, where Arun will share his insights on how he has built his firm and his practice. Our speaker, Arun, brings over 20 years of commercial experience and is the founder of Samera Group, which has grown from one client at his father's dining table to serving hundreds of healthcare businesses across the UK. Now, Arun will be sharing his exact framework, what he uses, practical advice for firms to use in their systems. Thank you so much for joining us, Arun. Over to you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Reshma. Thank you. I'm just trying to get the slides up if I can find out where we are. Hold on. Right. So I can share my screen.
Yeah. Let's see if it's working.
Can you see that?
Yes, I can. Yeah. You could play that from there and then you should be okay.
Okay. Amazing. Right. That's still there? All visible?
Yeah, all good.
Okay. Well, thank you firstly for the introduction, Reshma. Much appreciated, and glad to be back on British soil to talk about MTD. The reality is MTD is coming, as we all know it. But before we talk about what I do and how I do it and where we're coming from and what we're trying to do, I thought I'd give a little bit of an intro about who I am, where I've come from, what I do. So my name is Arun, and as Reshma kindly said, I'm the CEO of Samera Group. I started Samera back in 2002. I trained as a chartered accountant with PwC in London, working in their audit practice. Then went into investment banking as an equity analyst, and then realized, you know what, I want to have my own business. And that's exactly what I did. I thought, you know what, banking wasn't for me. Having your own business was always in my thought process. And I thought, well, what's the obvious thing to start? And I thought I'd start an accounting firm. And that's what I did. At that time, I'd married my wife, Smita, who was a dentist. And I thought, well, she doesn't really have much idea about accounting, tax, or anything like that. Let me specialize in dentists. And since then, that's pretty much what I've done for the last 20 odd years, dealing with dentists of all shapes and sizes, large and small, multiple size groups to one-man bands and everything in between. We deal with dentists predominantly in the UK, but over the last, year now, we've started to work with clients overseas as well, who are dentists or dental groups. Now, as running a UK firm, one of the things I started doing many years ago was starting to outsource and offshore. And I kind of thought, well, I started working with someone in India or a firm in India, and that started working pretty well. But over time, and as we got nearer to COVID time, I thought, you know what, the prices are going up and the quality is diminishing. So at that time, I decided, you know what, I've had enough of this. It's not working. I'm going to bring everything back to the UK. I'll find great talent here and I'll do it all myself here in the UK. How wrong was I? That was a massive mistake. COVID happened, and literally my firm really struggled. We had a lot of work, but I lost a lot of clients over that period of time because I could not find suitable manpower here. And COVID was very busy for us. So I had an alternative, but to go back to India. But this time I set up my own firm, Samera Global, which is a entity in India, which is a subsidiary of my UK business. And now with that entity, we provide. That firm firstly does all the bookkeeping, accounting, year-end, tax, you name it. It's all done in India. My team in India does that all for my UK firm, with some reviews done here in the UK. And now we also support other firms with their offshoring needs, if they need manpower. And we're even now developing our own AI tools and everything out there as well with our kind of AI development team. One of the unique aspects of my whole firm is that I have a real insight into dental clinics. I own and run dental clinic with my wife, and that's given us real insight. And now we're at a point where we are leveraging our kind of talent pool across India to support us, as I mentioned, with accounting and finance, but also through the technology side of things. And we're building even tools for our dental clients here in the UK, which I think is a game changer for us as well. So we're moving our accounting firm into a much more tech advisory firm, which happens to be an accountancy firm. So it's a very, very exciting time for us. And having just come back from Thailand, seeing about 24, 25 team members who visited Thailand, I can see the hunger and the energy and the desire amongst all of those team members to do well, to develop, to grow, to contribute to the firm, but also for them to develop great careers as well. But now back to what's happening in the world of accounting in the UK. You probably all know this already. This is why this talk's already happening. But I'll just quickly recap anyway. So we've got MTD coming. April this year is going to have impact around, we believe, around 780,000 taxpayers. From April 27, about 970K. And then from April 28, there'll be even more taxpayers as the threshold drops to 20K. As you're all aware, there's quarterly updates each quarter, and then a final declaration by end of Jan. No penalty points for late quarterly updates, but if we don't get the final declaration in, there still could be penalties as well. So on paper, it sounds actually, you know what, it's quite doable. The actual work isn't that complicated. But as we know, with dealing with clients, that never is as straightforward as we think. One of the big issues we've found over the years in just dealing with tax returns is getting information from our clients. We deal with dentists. They're smart people. They're clever people. But when it comes to getting information in, they're absolutely awful. They leave it to the last minute. They think they got everything and they haven't. They're not the most organized people because they're very much busy in their day-to-days with all their clinical related work. So getting financial information from them has been a real headache. We've tried all systems, all practice management systems and email systems and upload systems. But over the last 12 months, what we've actually implemented is WhatsApp company-wide. And that's had a massive impact for us. We're having a WhatsApp type of solution to collect data from people. So if anyone's not used WhatsApp for their business, I would strongly suggest you implement that. But moving on to the real problem, as we said, it's not the tech, and it's the kind of making it profitable for you as a firm. So as we said, you've got to fill the forms in 4 times a year and then an annual return at the end of the year. Now that means, how are you going to price this? Now, pricing will come under pressure. We've put some pricing out there to our client base. Of course, we get clients coming back to us, oh, Arun, that's too expensive. I'm not going to do that. But you know what? We say, okay, fine. If you don't want to pay that price, thanks very much. Goodbye. You can do it yourself. I'm pretty sure quite a few of those people will come back to us, because to do it, it's going to take time out of their day, time out of their diary, time out of, and they're not the experts. They won't know what they're doing. Yes, can they learn it? Of course they do. Is there free software out there available to? Absolutely, of course there is. But to actually do it right, do it properly, without too much pressure, takes professional help like ourselves as accountants. Now, so how are you going to solve this problem if you're going to do it, and you're going to do it kind of profitably for yourself? So we all know the talent problem in the UK is there. It's expensive if you find talent, and trying to find good people is a challenge, as I found. So you don't want to get your good people stuck in the day-to-day bookkeeping or submissions of quarterly returns. That's not what they're there for. They won't be happy. And ultimately, you won't be able to upsell the higher margin items, such as advisory work. So the way that I would suggest you do this is to start thinking using automation, but also using offshore team members. And that's exactly what we've done, or what we are doing. So I think you'll find that your clients will see this as just a need-to-be done thing, okay? And it's compliance at the end of the day. So you have to start thinking, how am I going to position my firm? What am I going to do? Because the real value in any firm going forward now is advisory. That's where you can make higher margin items. That's where you can provide better quality advice. Now, you might be thinking, well, I deal with all sorts of clients of all shapes and sizes, and that can be an issue. So that's why many years ago for ourselves, we decided to specialize in a niche It took time to build up, but now we have real insight into a particular sector, such as the dental sector, and that gives us a real edge over many of our competitors out there. And that way, we can also then systemize and understand how long it should take us to do a tax return, how to do a set, or to do a set of accounts, or whatever it may be. So the opportunity is here now, not just to cope with MTD, but as I've written there, is to restructure how you deliver your services as a firm. And that's kind of absolutely key. So as I mentioned, we are a niche-based firm. We deal with dentists. We deal with people who are one-man band associate dentists who just have to do a personal tax return a year, to people who are running 50 practices and they have to do their monthly accounts, bookkeeping, accounts payable, you name it. We deal with all of that. So in order to be able to provide a good service and make a good margin, we have to start thinking of what our structure is. So there's two elements to it, two levers. And you don't want to burn your team out. And that's a mistake I made before, is here by having team members in the UK only, we burnt our team out and it just didn't work. We delivered poor quality work, clients were unhappy. So the only way really to deliver this in an effective, kind of client-friendly, profitable manner is through using these two levers of automation and offshore teams. So what are those? What covers under these things? So if I look at automation, as I'm sure you're aware, we can get bank feeds in, we can auto-categorize items. You want to have template-driven quarterly submissions. You want to be able to automate client chasing and reminders, again, using things such as WhatsApp or emails or other systems that you might have. You might even start automating it through voice notes through WhatsApp, or even AI-driven voice notes through WhatsApp, say of your own voice. And that's something we're trialing at the moment, where we have my voice and then it's a voice note that's automatically going to go out to people, say, hi, this is Arun, we're chasing up this information, can you send it to us? Okay, in my voice, even though it's AI-driven. These are the things you've got to start thinking. Where can I save time? How can I be more efficient? You could have exception-based review workflows. So only if things are over a certain level or a certain kind of margin or materiality, you have exception-based reporting. And then, of course, you try and standardize the chart of accounts. So now when you have something like a dental associate, we have a standardized chart of account. We deal with hundreds of associates. We have standardized that to make our life a lot easier. And that's an important element to make automation work for us. Similarly, we then have, well, not similarly, but we have an offshore team. And this is key. You want to be able to train them in your processes, in your systems. So we have an offshore team in India of accountants who are some junior guys who do bookkeeping, some who do the data doing the data entry, doing the reconciliations, and then they'll pull all the data together into the quarterly update. It'll be checked and reviewed and then submitted. And by having the automation and the offshore team, it allows us to scale relatively swiftly. And therefore, we can get more customers through the funnel, I guess, and ultimately make it less kind of stressful for everybody involved. So together, if you have automation, you have an offshore team, we can ultimately build a scalable, profitable, and ultimately a stress-free compliance process. So if we go into each of these in a little bit more depth, this works. So if you look at this, it's the boring stuff that saves you, okay? So I've written here, 60 to 70% of your work should be done before a team even looks at it. And that's kind of the metric that we're trying to work to in our firm, okay? So what do we do to enable that? We standardize the chart of accounts, as I mentioned. So one process, one set of templates across all MTD clients, no special snowflakes. And that's the whole point, is you want to standardize this. Makes your life so much easier. Bank feeds automation, categorization, receipt capture, get all the 80% of the transactions sorted out without touching them. You want that all processed. You want the automation. You want automate, number 3, automate all the output. So quarterly submissions built from templates. So all the reminders, chasing clients for information, everything like that, okay? Automate those outputs. And then fourthly, you can have a report system in place. You only see what items are flagged, like unusual items, missing data, things that need a human involved. So combining that. So these are the things where you start. So the point I'm trying to get across here is that you can get these 4 steps done, and they're not difficult to do. You still need a human involved, but you want to check. Eventually, maybe in a few years' time, a human may not even be involved. Okay, with the way that technology and AI is moving so swiftly, I see this kind of compliance side of things moving very, very quickly. It just needs to be a rubber stamp from a firm saying this was submitted all right, and it's gone through to HMRC. So then, if you keep moving forward to the offshore piece, I know many people are always worried about offshore. Oh my God, it doesn't work, or they've had bad experiences before, or they've kind of it's something they don't want to touch, or what will my clients say, all these types of things. So I've kind of put some points here. In my mind, it works, and it works really well. The most important point, though, is to build a dedicated team. That's the really key thing here. Too many people have the odd freelancer working in them, coming in, going, not that reliable, not that good at work. If you have someone like that, you're not going to be able to build a business. You need a dedicated team who is really trained on your processes exactly, okay? And they're there working for you day in, day out, not for some other client, not for a few other clients, but for you and your firm. I've seen it too many times when clients or firms take on ad hoc staff here and there, and honestly, it's just a mess, okay? You really want to have them part of your team. They maybe even have your same email domain. They're part of your team huddles. You may bring them over to the UK to meet with you, or vice versa, you go and see them in India, all that type of stuff. But it's dedicated. That's the key message here. Because then if you're dedicating your time and effort and money towards them, they'll dedicate their time, money, and effort towards you. They feel they're part of something. And that's a really important aspect. It's not an accountancy element to think about. It's about building that culture. Because when you build that culture, people feel valued. When they feel valued, they'll do a damn good job with you for the work they're trying to provide. So as I said, train them on your processes, integrate them into your tech stack, and have quality as at the heart of it, at the heart of the business. They will handle the volume and you'll handle the value. And ultimately, one big thing, and I've always stressed this, get them to communicate directly with clients. You don't want to be that bottleneck. You don't want to be that person in the middle. You don't want your team to be doing that. That just slows down the process. Now, many years ago, when I started out, I was very hesitant about letting my India team talk to clients directly. Today, I encourage it. I want them to take all of it away. I don't have the time. I don't have the headspace. And the key is my clients love it. Yeah, they're getting the job done significantly quicker because I'm not involved or other team members in the UK involved. They're getting it done properly. Are there reviews in place? Of course there are. But they build a relationship with the guys in India and vice versa. And then recently last year, some of my team members from India came over, met with their clients, met with some of the clients, and they loved it. Clients loved it. They loved it. Win-win situation, building relationships. Because we live in a global world now. We're not living in them and us situation. We have great team members everywhere. Then what doesn't work, though, is, as it says here, throwing work over the wall and hoping and praying. That's not going to work. If you say, oh, well, I've got a client, I need some work, I'm going to chuck it over to someone in India or somewhere in the Philippines and hope they work. Doesn't work. Cheap freelancers don't work with no oversight. That, again, it's just waste your money. You're going to go into Upwork or, I don't know, Fiverr and find someone. You know what? You get what you pay for at the end of the day in offshoring as well, okay? There are no standardized processes first. And you're expecting it to work without automation as well. So important. In addition, offshore advisory can work, I've said, but that can happen a little bit later on down the line. But so important to really focus on getting that team right. And that's, if I look at my firm now, we have a team of 30 to 40 people now across India, and that's growing. And 95% of my effort is all about building that team, developing the team, and motivating the team, and developing it and making them feel part of the team, and building that culture. I've hired the right people now. Are they the cheapest guys in India? Certainly not. I don't want them to be the cheapest guys in India. I want them to be the best guys in India who have a great attitude and who are willing to learn and who are willing to participate. And that's a really important thing here. Don't go for cheap, go for quality. Like you would hear in the UK, if you're hiring a team member, you want good quality people. Really good quality people. And remember, of course, in India and places like that, the costs are lower. than here. So you can find good team members and save significant amounts of money, and get the work done and make a great margin as well. It's a win-win on so many levels here. So how do you protect your margins? Well, at the end of the day, if the math doesn't work, nothing else really matters. So without a type of framework that I've outlined, your filing workload is 4 times increased. Clients may resist a fee rise above 20%. Staff costs are rising if you can hire, and they're certainly rising here in the UK. You're squeezed margin-wise, and morale is just getting negative, going down. With offshore and automation, it can change your business massively. Firstly, you can absorb all the work. Secondly, you can increase those files because you're justified by having quarterly value, having more touch points, getting the things done swiftly. People will pay you if you're getting it done properly, swiftly, chasing them, getting the information in. You can charge more than 20%. I think at my fees from an annual return, we've charged almost double. We've doubled our fees for MTD. Now, will everyone take it? No, they won't, but we don't want everyone. We just want the ones who want to pay the double. We just want the headache away. So that's a really important aspect to think about. You want to if you can get the automation and offshoring right, you can put your fees up significantly more because you're delivering at speed in an organized manner. The staff costs, as I mentioned, are significantly lower overseas, and your margins ultimately protected or improved. But most importantly, your morale of your team is increased. Now, obviously, you've got team members in India who may be doing a lot of the bookkeeping, accounting, submissions and returns, but it also frees up your team members here locally who can then focus on advisory-related work where there are higher margins to be had. So I've written here, the sweet spot, charge clients a modest uplift for quarterly service, deliver it at a fraction of cost, and ultimately pocket the difference. That's the ultimate goal. And is it hard to do? No, it's not hard to do if you adopt a framework like this with automation and offshoring. So then what about quality? And I always get this question of quality if I'm using offshore teams and all these types of things. If I look at standardized processes, firstly, that's the key thing. You want to standardize your process. So a same workflow for each client. No guesswork, no reinventing the wheel each quarter. Training. We do training monthly with the team on UK tax rules, HMSO requirements, and MTD. So if I look at our MTD team, we have a team now dedicated to MTD in India. We started this about 8 or 9 months ago, and they've come on board. They're the ones who chose what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. It's been absolutely brilliant. I've been involved very little. We have multiple layer reviews here in the UK and in India in place. And then we have dashboards ready to go. So we can see what are our turnaround times, error rates, and satisfaction times as well, okay? We have KPI dashboards. We have tech-enabled checks in place. So the technology is always checked and stuff. And then we have obviously regular communications. We have Teams channels. We have WhatsApp groups within our team to talk things through, all secure. And we have training sessions, as I mentioned as well. And also, as I said, we have team gatherings. So we had people meeting we went to Thailand this time, all the team members meeting each other, which makes a massive difference. People feel part of something, people feel valued. You're growing a business of value. You're making an impact on people's lives, not just your clients' lives, but your team's lives as well. So important, so valuable, so empowering for yourself as well as a firm owner. And then lastly, really here is this frees your team for the good stuff here, particularly in the UK. So, or even in India as well, if you've got the right people. You're having quarterly conversations each quarter. So you could have a conversation each quarter and add 15 minutes of insight and charge for it. That's an opportunity. By doing it quarterly, you can do tax planning in real time, spot opportunities, such as pension contributions, capital allowances, income shifting, whatever it may be. You can help with cash flow forecasting. Clients love seeing where they're heading cash flow wise. You can provide business growth advice with compliance off your plate. Your team can actually think strategically for clients. All of these things are happening if you've got an automation and an offshoring process in place, which can make a massive difference. And as it says at the bottom, compliance pays the bills, but advisory builds the practice and ultimately grows the much bigger profits in my mind, because you can charge value-based pricing. You're not having to be squeezed on fees because you can justify, I'm adding value and this is my fee for a higher kind of service. So important to think about this area of automating and offshoring if you're doing MTD. And this is something that we've got set up for our own firm, and we're actually very excited about. We've tested it already on a bunch of clients, and it's working well during the trial period of MTD. And this is the process we've kind of adopted. It's very outlined at this stage for you to see, but we can certainly help. Now, if you want some help, you can reach out to me, no problem at all. You can via Zoho. You can see the framework, what processes we're using. I can get you introduced to our team. And you can start small with a small bunch of clients. If this sounds of interest, we can definitely help on a few fronts. Just a couple of slides here. It's a QR code you can scan. If you need any help with offshore accounting team members or building our own offshore team, or certainly you want to build some software tools yourself, we can certainly help. We're actually training AI engineers now in India to then the knowledge of accounting, because we think that's where it's going. Every firm or most firms will need their own AI kind of engineer to help them work with technology and workflows. So that's one element if you need manpower, whether it's accounting or AI engineers. And then lastly, last slide, I'm very active and talk about all this space, particularly in the dental sector where I'm particularly very active, but very much talk about how we're doing it in our firm. I do this on LinkedIn, and I try to post most days on LinkedIn. Again, you can get that QR code there. And I hope this has given you a little bit of a flavor of what's so important in this MTD world. I think using a global workforce is absolutely key. And then secondly, using technology or automation with AI types of tools as well will be absolutely key. That will help you grow your margin, because otherwise your margin will just be squeezed all the time. And also be bold in terms of your pricing, because if you can deliver fast, efficiently and well, you can charge greater fees and ultimately get greater profits. Thank you very much. And hopefully that's given you a little bit of insight of what we're doing.
Thank you. Thanks, Arun. I think it's really insightful. I mean, if I was starting an accounting firm right now with MTD looming, I think there was some really good practical advice there.
Thank you, Reshma.
All our audiences, you have the contact details of Arun, but like he said, I think he is more reachable on LinkedIn. He's very active on LinkedIn. Please do connect with him and get some insights. And I think we are done with the session. This was the last session. Thank you, Arun, once again.
No problem.